It's already been given. Already been given. The call to work amongst the unreached people of this world isn't some sort of voice, it's a verse. Go. Go. Be my witnesses to the ends of the earth. Unless you are willing to come to an end to yourself, you will never go to the ends of the earth. What does that mean? Unless you're willing to die to yourself, unless you're willing to give yourself to God, unreservedly, totally, then we will never fulfill that challenge. Am I asking you to die? Absolutely. Totally. Because unless you die, you cannot live. I once read a book. I've read more than one book. But I once read a book. It's called The Living Stones of the Himalayas. It's not popular. It wasn't a bestseller. You know, it was something that really kind of changed my life. Because there's a simple kind of illustration at the back of this book that I found very, very powerful. I want to read it to you. Because I actually believe today, with all my heart, that some of you will go to the mission field. Some of you will be called today. Some of you will say, yeah, I'm in. Not all of us are meant to go, but there's a few of us here today who are hearing something, and God is knocking on your door right now. You may be 12, you may be 14. I was 16 when God called me, 38 when I left. For some of you, it's the start of a journey. I want to read this account, and I want you to listen to it very carefully, and this is where I'm going to conclude today. One of the greatest missionaries to India in the 1880s was a man called Dr. Alexander Duff, a Scot. After 40 years of working in India, Duff returned to Scotland to die. But before he died, he was invited to speak to a great gathering of the church in Scotland. In the middle of his sermon, he collapsed and was carried off the stage to a side room. A doctor who was present examined him at once and said that if he tried to continue speaking that day, it would be so at the risk of his own life. But over the protests of the doctor and the pastor of the church, the old white-haired missionary struggled to his feet and headed for the platform. With the doctor supporting him on one side and the pastor on the other, Alexander Duff climbed the steps to the pulpit. And as he did so, the entire gathering rose to pay tribute to him. And then they sat down again. And then he said to this great gathering of young people, when Queen Victoria calls for volunteers to join the army to go to India, hundreds and thousands of young men spring to the colors to serve their country. But when King Jesus calls, no one responds. No one goes. He paused, and there was silence. And then he spoke again. Is it really true, he asked, that the fathers and mothers of Scotland have no more sons to give for India? Again he paused. But still there was silence. And then he said, very well, old though I am, I will go back to India myself. I will lay down on the banks of the great river Ganges, and I will die. Thereby I can let the peoples of India know that there is at least one man in Britain who loves them enough to give his life for them. There was a stirring throughout that gathering, and young men and women began to stand up, one after the other, dozens of them shouting, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go. But the three most powerful words of this book are the last three that changed my life, that will change some of your lives. Because after the meeting and saying, I'll go, the three last words of the book simply says this: and they went. I wonder, in this very simple auditorium, this simple time together, if there's anyone who can say to God today, Lord Jesus, I don't seem to have much. I've got a bit of a background, but you know what? I'll go. I wonder if there's actually anyone daring enough, courageous enough, to come to a place like Nepal and see the mass of people who have no hope and will have no hope unless someone goes. You see, young people, somebody, somewhere, has to pay a price. Somebody has to go. Why not you? Why not? I wonder if there's anybody here today who can stand and say, do you know what, Steve? I'm willing. I'm willing. I've traveled 5,000 miles just to say what I've said. I wonder if some of you will travel just a little distance and say, I'm willing. Where's that distance? It's up. Because if God has spoken to your heart today, forget what your friends think. See the need. See the one end of the log. And see that Jesus needs. God needs some laborers. We're not going to bow our heads. I'm just going to ask, is there anyone who's willing to say, I'll go? It's a big thing, I know. If that's you, I want you to stand right where you are, right now. We're not playing a game. If there were 10% of the young people in this room responded, I would be elated. God is just putting his finger right on your heart right now. And he's saying, do you know what? I'm willing to do it. If you want me to go, I'll do it. Do you know what? I'd love to see young people come to Nepal. I'd love to see you as you minister to those who have no hope. I'd love to see you do that. Of course you can do it here. And many of you should stay. But some of you, a journey has begun today.